Welcome to Saron Things, a pop culture podcast where we talk about the things that matter to me. Saron, how are you guys doing? I hope you're having a wonderful week. Happy Thursday. We're almost at the end. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. The weekend is just around the corner. So I hope this episode helps you have that final push, put a little pep in your step so you have the energy to get through whatever faces you on Friday. Because I am Mother Teresa, and what I'm doing here is I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I have had an eventful week. Like I mentioned last week, this is my year of, yes, this is my year of going outside, meeting people. So that involves dating. I went on 2 dates this week, guys. 2 dates. I originally thought I only had one, but then I had two. I almost completely flaked on him. I didn't remember that I had agreed to this because I'm just not used to agreeing to go out with people. It's been so long. But anyways, this man, I will refer to him as the lawyer. He took me out to dinner. Well, took me out to dinner. That's very funny. We went to dinner in Georgetown. It was lovely. The meal was good. The company was fine. I used to have so much fun dating, and honestly, I still do. If I have a good martini in front of me, I can have a ball with anyone. Uh, Save you being like a terrible person, like a racist, bigot, homophobe, whatever, then, we can have a giggle, have a drink, and be both on our merry ways. So conversation was fine. It was good. I was definitely the one that was driving the majority of it. At some point I was just like, I'm just gonna try to make him laugh. And it worked. He is a bit of a stiff fella. Until like we got to the end of the meal, and he asked me if I would go home with him, and it was a Monday evening, and it didn't even cross my mind that that would be on the table. So I said no. I said absolutely not. Um, but I had a lovely time, and then after a couple minutes, we wrapped up our food, and he was like, "Well, what if we go to another bar?" And at this point, it was pretty late. It was like 11 p.m. or maybe 10:30. Like the meal, it was a late fucking meal. And I'm pretty sure the kitchen had closed. Like we were one of the last people there. Um, and just like I was tired. It had been a long day. The next morning it's a weeknight. Like it's a school night, mom. Anyways, I said no, and he pushed it. So I don't enjoy being pushed. I don't enjoy when having to say no multiple times, and I I don't like when people try to convince me of stuff. If I said no, no is a complete sentence. You don't have to know why I feel the way I do, or why I do or do not want to do the things that I do or do not want to do. You just have to respect it. And because what in the actual fuck? I owe you absolutely nothing. And I know this sounds like aggressive, but I find it's such an ick for me when men try to like push things. Is that crazy? I feel like you should just hear what I say and then do everything in your power to make sure that that comes to fruition, especially if you want to see me again. Don't beg, don't plead, don't try to give me puppy dog eyes. Like, ugh, I can't, I can't be a grown man and call me a car. Okay. Um, but it, I ended up the check came. Well, actually, let me rewind. So he pushes it, and I say, "All right, I guess I can have like one more drink." I went to the bathroom and I looked at myself in the face and I was like, "Bitch, do you want to get another drink or no? Or do you want to go home?" And I very much, very clearly just wanted to go home. So I was like, "What are you doing, girl? Go home. You don't know this man. Why would you ever do something that you don't want to do for some man that you hardly know?" Like, the extra 45 minutes to an hour of sleep is worth 10 times more than any kind of interaction I could have with this virtual stranger. So after I knocked some sense into myself, I proceeded to go back to the table and I sat down and I was like, I just can't do it. And he was like, he started to beg again. And eventually I was like, I don't understand why you would even want me to go to get another drink with you at this point. If you think that that's just like a just an intermission between me agreeing to just go home with you, like no. And also I'm going home. I'm going home, sir. I said like I and I think I no, I definitely said like, why would you want to pressure me into doing something I don't want to do? And that was that kind of, like, took him aback a little, I think, and I was like, "Yeah, okay," and then the woman immediately came and gave us oh, actually, it was a fella, gave us our check, and I insisted on paying, and I paid, and I called myself a car, and then I went home and to my sweet pupperoo and my kitties, and it was an lovely, lovely evening afterwards. I'm pretty sure I ordered myself McDonald's and ate that in bed. Whilst watching, the Minion movie, The Rise of Gru. Anyhoozle, um, I if I just a secret, or this is not a secret, but just a thing about me is if I insist on paying for the bill and I'm on a date, we're probably never gonna see each other again. We're not going to see each other because if I like you, I'm generally not even a reach for it type of gal, you know? I I won't even pretend like I'm going to go get my wallet. Because what do you mean? No. If I like you enough and I think I'm probably going to see you again or I have any interest in seeing you again, I'm just gonna let you do the gentlemanly thing and pay for everything. But if I don't, I will just, I'll just, I'll cover it. I'll cover it, call it a day so I don't ever have to think about it. Like and especially with him just like not letting go of the fact that he wanted to go to a second location and then to go back to his place or vice versa. I don't know. I didn't want any I didn't it felt so it started to feel like he wanted it was like transactional in some way and I don't know. I don't know. So, being a people pleaser must be a hell of an affliction, guys, because I don't know how you do it. I can't imagine having the burden of wanting to make everybody else feel comfortable over your own comfort or wanting to, please others or satisfy someone else over your pleasure or your satisfaction. Like who because who's doing that for you? If you're doing that for everyone else, and who is making sure that I know, don't roll your eyes, but your cup is full, or you're on track to be meeting your goals and achieving what you want to achieve and being where you want to be in your life. Like nobody's going to do that for you, and you should never feel obligated to do that for anyone else. So, and like I just was thinking about how women who are like people pleasers, and women suffer from this a lot because it's just the way you're conditioned, I suppose, growing up. I was the youngest of 4 girls, and the sister that's closest to my age is 10 years older than me, and, then 12 years and 14 years, and so all girls, and my parents were very insistent upon us always being able to take care of ourselves, prioritizing our education, and, always being our own advocate. My dad wouldn't bat an eyelash if I like never got married. I don't At this point I don't think my mom really cares much either. I don't know how much of this is my personality. I've always been a mouthy broad, even as a kid. I don't know how much of that was mental illness and how much of that is just like how much of it is like nature versus nurture. But I've never been a people pleaser. I've always been rather outspoken about my feelings and um I like I think at a young age I realized that adults were very much fallible and they weren't always the best examples, and my conscience, I remember feeling like, "Oh, if this goes against, like, my gut, or if this makes me feel yucky, or if it just doesn't feel right to me or it goes against my logic, then why should I suspend all of that and put my trust in this adult?" I just, especially when we were getting conflicting messaging, I think that I started to rely myself on my own sense of right and wrong and my own conscience, like, a lot younger, and that at a very young age, and that kind of freed me from the shackles of of being a people pleaser. I was this, like, American child that these 2 very Ethiopian people were raising, and I was very vocal about my feelings and audacious and irreverent from a very young age. My report cards say as much. And I think that they got a kick out of that growing up. So nobody ever really tried to stamp that down or stomp that down or remove that from me. It was always kind of celebrated. Uh, it was always celebrated. So I certainly appreciate my parents for that in a way that I don't think my sisters could relate to, because not only were they raised in Ethiopia um where it's just more conservative, and, they also went to, like, parochial schools while they were in Ethiopia, like, Catholic mostly, I believe, Catholic schools, and my sisters were kind of, like, more quiet, more reserved, and I was just this, like, blundering American with, like, way too much to say, thoughts on everything, had to share my opinion, um and was, like, very, verbally, I guess, like, was very advanced with my language skills from a very young age. So I just was talking, 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 about everything and anything, and here I am on a podcast a million years later, so say la vie. All's that to say, don't betray yourself for some random man. If you don't wanna do something, it is always worth the awkward moment. I save myself an awkward, I don't know, hour, a hangover, a, feeling like I betrayed myself, uh, with a 10-second, conversation, and with a 10 seconds of awkwardness, and, like, a $120 bill, which is a steal considering, the alternative. I 100%, and I would do it again. I'd diddly do it again. Okay, enough about me. Let's talk about some pop culture things. First up is Summer House. New episode just came out last night. It was really good. They had that pirate party. Did you guys know that they have to pay for those parties out of their pocket? I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure they have to pay out of pocket for those parties. So, like, that bull riding machine, all of the bubble machines, all of the food, like, all of that is coming out of their pocket. I thought it was like, the housewives, those cast trips. I'm pretty sure that Bravo covers those. Why wouldn't the company cover the cost of the event? Because the only reason why they're having 15 different parties every summer is so that they have, like, a fun backdrop for whatever hijinks are ensuing before us. So yeah, it just mind blowing. But anywho, they at this pirate party, it seems that Paige realized that she might be dating a hater. Craig had said something about not wanting to talk about how her career is, like, bigger and, more intense right now than his, because it would be negative about him. And she was like, but it's positive about me. So why wouldn't you try and validate the work that I'm doing? And I completely agree. And I see where she's coming from. Also, Craig and Kyle made up. They kind of. So Craig apologized. No, Craig was insistent that Kyle apologize to him, and Kyle did apologize. His energy towards Craig very different than his energy towards Paige. There was no rage. He clearly was fine working that out on the woman before he had a even keeled conversation with the man. But alas, they seem to be on okay footing. And Paige, I'm seeing there was a in the preview for Southern Charm, the next episode, You see Craig talking about how, he felt blindsided by the breakup, and she called after they had a lovely Thanksgiving together, and like, why would you ever give up something so great up? Like, you're my best friend, we have great sex, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of the people were like, see, look at him not bashing her. But like, how there are two people in this relationship, and just because what Paige experienced in this relationship was different than what Craig experienced in this relationship doesn't mean she's not entitled to feel the way that she feels. What is she supposed to be dishonest? She was on the after show and she was asked frank questions about her relationship, and she answered them frankly. And if listen, if Craig has nothing negative to say about their relationship, or how Paige behaved in their relationship, then perhaps she's just a flawless, perfect angel. I know that's unreasonable, but I just find it insane people are discrediting that she actually felt like he wasn't super supportive of what she was doing, and that even though he agreed to move to New York and raise their family there, that he would end up resenting her at some point. These are all super valid things. And then you see in the promo and for like the second half of the Summer House of the season, that Paige says something about, and this is why we're breaking up, because I don't know whether you're lying. Because Craig said something like, I wish you'd seen the ring before you did this, broke up with him. And I we have so much evidence, so much footage of Craig being a pathological liar, like a kookadoodle doo. Craig, the truth, never met her. Never met her. Couldn't pick her out of a lineup, the truth. So when Paige, who is a very loyal gal, says that, I don't know whether you're lying to me, I'm sure there's plenty in the relationship that we did not see, that she covered up, or that she swept under the rug, or tried to, push to the back because she loved him and she didn't want people to look at him negatively. And, she did at some point think that that was going to be her husband and the father of her children. That absolutely makes sense to me. And for people to be like, oh, there's no, like, she's so full of it, this is just excuses, that she's like reverse engineering because she only was dating with him because she wanted the publicity and that she didn't love him, like, this is what people are saying. No, like, let's be reasonable here. Let's look at historical data. The history is showing that Craig does not have a great relationship with the truth. So let's take his version of events with a grain of salt. What I believe is that Craig loves Paige. In love, head over heels. If she wanted to take him back, if she wanted him back tomorrow, he would be on the first flight to the city. For sure. I think that I think that in general, they were good to each other. I think Craig is a mess, though, in many, many ways. And Paige is allowed to want to change her mind. She's allowed to change her mind, and her changing her mind doesn't discredit the entirety of their relationship. It doesn't uh, it's just so crazy to me that she is being made to be a villain because she's being honest about what she experienced in a relationship, and women are like looking at Craig as though he's just like this sweet little angel who's being lambasted for no reason. It's absurd. So the Snow White drama continues. The film finally premiered this past week, and it brought in 44.3 million domestically and 87.3 million globally, when it was projected, according to Variety, to bring in $100 million globally in their opening weekend. So they fell short of that goal, but not by a tremendous amount. I know that they invested somewhere in like the mid 200 millions in making this film. So that isn't ideal, but still there's time. I think that the headline saying that this film is just like the floppiest flop that has ever flopped is actually kind of nuts, considering that we didn't fall short by like 50%. It's what, 87 13%, a 13% margin. Not great, not terrible. Also, I would say that the studio holds much of the responsibility for this. First of all, when we're talking about the reviews, critics have said scathing things about the film in and of itself, beyond the controversies that have plagued it since, Rachel Zegler was cast as Snow White. You know, it is Snow White. People were expecting a white Snow White. I don't I don't care. I don't know. I'm not a purist when it comes to fiction. But if it unless it's something that completely takes away from, like, the heart and the intention of the original work, and I don't think having, like, a more melanated Snow White is, like, really shakes the core of that story, so I don't care, but if you do, I also don't care. Um, and then also the CGI little people. The CGI little people, they should have used real little people, and that's all I have to say about that because I I feel like that's all you can say about that. And then Rachel Zegler's political posts. So it just came out that the director of the film, something Platt, Mark Platt, his son just went on the internet and responded to someone in the comments, someone saying that it was creepy that his dad flew out to see Rachel Zegler to talk to her about taking down a pro Palestine um, uh, tweet that she made. And Jonah, his son, lost it. He said that she was being selfish. She's a narcissist. Let me just read the whole thing for you. Okay. Someone said, "Your dad flew to New York to reprimand a young actress. Any words on this? Because that's creepy as hell and uncalled for. People have the right to free speech. No? Shame on your father." Mark Platt, the director of the film. And Jonah Platt, his son, wrote, "You really want to do this?" Already, what a tool. Yeah, my dad, the producer of an enormous piece of Disney IP with hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, had to leave his family to fly across the country to reprimand his 20-year-old employee for dragging her personal politics into the middle of promoting the movie, for which she signed a multi-million-dollar contract to get paid and do publicity for. This is called adult responsibility and accountability, and her actions clearly hurt the film's box office. Free speech does not mean you're allowed to say whatever you want in your private employment without repercussions. Tens of thousands of people worked on that film, and she hijacked the conversation for her own immature desires at the risk of all the colleagues and crew and blue collar workers who depend on the movie. Not you bringing the blue collar worker and depend on that movie to be successful. Narcissism is not something to be coddled or encouraged. Okay. So, he shouldn't have done this or said this. And also, yes, there are some situations where you your language is protected. It's the First Amendment. Of course, free speech doesn't mean that you're not going to feel repercussions of the words that you use. Words are powerful, but um, I just don't necessarily think this was his place. I think that Disney did so much more harm than good by scaling back the marketing and scaling back the premiere of this film. PR wise, I think they'd already invested almost $250 million in this film, right? You need a return on your investment. If that is your utmost priority in this. So you need to do everything that you can in order to make sure that this film is successful with all the resources that you have. S- Scaling back that premiere just shows that there is strife, there are issues. This film has been plagued with controversy and that things are messy. And that's not what you want here. What you want is like legacy glamour. This is a big piece of IP. This film was incredibly important, thus the investment. But to say that it was just the wokeness that tanked it, I don't know if it's fair. Also, I don't know if we can say it's tanked when it's only 13% below the projected opening box office numbers. So critics have said, like many critics have said, that this film just felt like mass produced soulless nonsense. Like there was no art to it. It was very elementary, by the book, rinse and repeat stuff. And I know, like, the natural argument to that is it's an old piece of work. Like, this story is hundreds of years old. How much fresher can it get? That's the thing. Why do it? Why do it if you don't think you can do anything interesting with the story? Gal Gadot, who just got her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I still think that's weird. And I also mentioned this in the comments. Sorry, kind of a sharpish left, but Gal, I only was like kind of like shocked by Gal getting the star because I feel like Mindy Kaling just got her star a couple weeks ago, and the juxtaposition of their bodies of work, their time in the industry, the breadth of work that they do, their contributions to the industry on several different levels. It's just, it's absolutely fucking incomparable. So it just made me go, huh? So, and many people agree with it's not any deeper than that. Also, she's not like a great actress. That's not. And if you call my Jewish ass anti-Semitic for that, you can go fuck yourself. So Remi Bader had a little kiki with Khloe Kardashian with our sweet, sweet Coco, and she talked about her recent weight loss. Apparently, the weight loss that we've seen over the past year, pretty extreme weight loss, I would say, is due to a procedure called, one second. She had a procedure called SADIS, SADI-S, where they removed like 80% of her stomach. I know that you do that in a gastric bypass too, but it's different. It's a different thing. She had mentioned that she previously tried GLP-1s, but they didn't work for her. And I think that they actually had adverse effects and she ended up gaining even more weight. So if you don't know, my take on Ozempic, and if you're really upset by people using Ozempic for weight loss reasons and not for like their original diabetic use for diabetes, I think that you are just a fucking hater. You're a hater. You are one of those people who feel like being thin is like one of the only special, interesting things about you. Not interesting, first and foremost. And for other people to be able to achieve said thinness easily will make it less of a commodity, therefore making you less valuable. And that's very sad. That is very, very sad. But also, losing weight is linked to health. I'm pretty sure. I'm no doctor. So, and also, even if it was just because someone wants to look motherfucking snatched, who is it? What does it have to do with you? Anyways, so she has come out, Remi, and said that she has done this procedure called SADIs, and there are a lot of people who are like supportive of her. But I would say the reaction has been 50-50. For every comment saying, go you, so proud of your journey. I know it's been a hard road. You look great. There's also people calling her a fucking traitor, saying like, how dare you lie to us? You've bamboozled us all. This is the bait and switch of a lifetime. And I know I must treadeth lightly. Okay. I am a thin woman and I have been forever. And weight is not one of those things I've really struggled with in my it's not, I mean, I have afflictions. We have issues. But I've always just been eat small portions, but like whatever I want kind of gal. So, if I haven't struggled with my weight or like binge eating or any kind of like ED, I can't speak to how invested you were in your relationship with Remi. I followed her because I thought she was fucking hilarious. And um I obviously think that the work that she was doing with like plus size representation and also plus size inclusivity when it comes to fashion is incredibly important. So I wanted to support and think she's beautiful and all the things. So I don't have that feeling of betrayal when it comes to her weight, but I suppose I can see why if someone started out following you because your niche was body positivity and your weight, your and how you look in clothes and how clothes from different brands fit you and just like how you move through the world as a plus size woman with confidence. And not only, not worry about blending in, right? But being proud to stand out. I think that's super valuable. But at the end of the day, um, the other side of this is like her it's her body, and it's technically health information, right? And I think that the argument that a lot of people have made is that she led us astray. When people saw the obvious loss, she really doubled down on like being healthy, making healthy choices, and exercising and blah blah blah. She never said that she didn't do some kind of medical intervention, but she never said that she did. And she did say that she was, she did show herself like working out and eating well and all of this other stuff. And people would ask her in the comments constantly, what the fuck, how you're losing weight or you look thinner or what are you doing? And allegedly she would block people whenever they would mention her body because she found it really triggering to like have to be confronted by that every day. And the thing is, like, I want to hear what you guys think about this because I know the women who listen to me are reasonable bitches, especially if you've ever dealt with issues about, body image or to be fair, I have dealt with body image issues. I still deal with body image issues. It's just not weight related. Um, so especially if you've dealt with like weight related image issues, like is it a betrayal? Can somebody doing what's right? I don't think that at the root of it, people making the right choice for themselves can never be a betrayal against you, because at the end of the day, if someone has to betray themselves in order to align with what you want, like, why would you want that? That's not the kind of energy you want in your life. I can't imagine having built a platform that's so personal and so vulnerable. I have found a way to back into vulnerability, all right? I have a niche that's not talking about myself. I started TikTok talking about pop culture, reality TV, zeitgeisty stuff, other people, talking shit about other people. And that allowed me to grow my platform because I didn't have to be so vulnerable. All I had to do was be funny and provide something that I think is grossly missing in like the pop culture, like podcast content creator world, which is like accuracy, facts, and like having and the ability to kind of dig into these topics on a more nuanced, um, interesting level, and not just like talk about the headlines and have like guess what the details are. I find that these conversations, and that's what I kind of feel this podcast is, are only fun if we are talking about like reality. And so much of this is silly. So the least I could do is be accurate in like the things that I'm telling you or the topics that I want to discuss. That being said, as time goes on, I become more comfortable with my audience. The audience grows, but it's people that understand me. If they find me funny or they like the kind of conversations that I like to have on my social media, or they value the type of details that I go into with the subjects that we talk about. I become more comfortable sharing about myself little by little. I'll tell you a little bit more about my life. And then we got to this point somehow a year later where I'm talking about my dates. And if you'd asked me a year ago if that would ever be me, I would say absolutely not. But here we are. This platform has to be authentic. My feelings are my feelings. Those have to be honest. My personality has to be kind of unfiltered. I can't be precious about the things that I talk about. But nobody's expecting me to divulge my deepest darkest secrets or talk about my mental health or whatnot. And I'm sure that's something that I will be doing as time goes on, but in my own timeline. I can't imagine the internet looking at me to as a guidepost in such a for such a sensitive, like tenuous topic. She's just a girl, you know. She's a young girl trying to figure it out, and her platform exploded like this. It happened in a couple months span, if I recall, over the pandemic. No one could be prepared for the type of, you know, notoriety and influence that she garnered so quickly. And so I can't ever fault someone in their early 20s for changing. She did build her platform on being a plus size woman who, you know, who was all about body positivity. You can still be about body positivity and not be plus sized, but that ability to like relate to her, I can see why that would be problematic. The only thing that I can kind of liken it to is if I make pop culture content, right? If tomorrow I decided I was going to make like fitness sorry. I couldn't even say that with a straight face. Like fitness wellness content. Would you nice you got and like I didn't address it. Ah, if I was like, if tomorrow you saw Saron Things became Guru Saron, and I was talking about like my chi and I don't know, I, I, I can't even think of anything wellness related. Um, Incense, uh, essential oils, uh, I don't know. That's all I got. Um, you would be confused. And as people started to ask me about it, if I started to delete and block, that would probably upset you guys. Oh, guys, you know what? I don't have an answer here. And I don't think there is an answer. I do think her career will continue to thrive, and I hope her career continues to thrive. I think she's delightful. And I hope that she remains like healthy. She posted a bunch of images of conversations that she was having right after she had the surgery, actually. And Homegirl was struggling. She was having a bad time. And so I completely understand being in just the worst headspace, you know, really struggling to get out of bed every single day, hating, feeling awful, hating yourself for no reason other than you feel like your body is like betraying you. If that person doesn't want to, you know, divulge the intricacies of their day to day, I understand. At that point she didn't know how she felt yet. And I don't know. I think we just expect too much of people sometimes. And I'm glad she eventually was honest. But if you do feel like you cannot trust her and you just do not feel like she has a place in your roster of influencers that you love, then like that's also fine. That's a risk that you run. Whenever you make big changes to your life, big public facing changes. And maybe it wasn't the right choice for her to block people and delete comments when they were asking about her weight. I assure you this is not the last time that she's going to make a not ideal decision. It will be fine because she's gonna grow with everyone. Last quick thing. I want to talk about Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni and this thing that's going around the internet where because it was Blake L Inc. that was contracted to work by Wayfarer and not the individual Blake Lively, and she filed her lawsuit as Blake Lively, that the lawsuit should be thrown out because it wasn't Blake Lively who was contracted. It was Blake L Inc. Um, this seems I mean, my immediate first thought, just like logically speaking, as someone who has been like a subcontractor or contractor, that would mean that like if someone hired my LLC to consult for them on a political cycle, um, that and the LLC of one, that if there was any kind of harassment that happened while I was working there by an agent or an executive of that organization, that I would have no recourse because it would be my LLC who was who the paperwork was under, who was contractually obligated to the organization, regardless of me being the one, owner, proprietor, whatever. And that I'm pretty sure that is absolutely not how that works. I'm pretty sure that Title VII extends to anyone who is working under their employer, any individual, regardless of like the business entity that is their that's that they're like housed under within, their contract. And even if that was the case, um she can still amend her complaint, no? So even if there was an issue with who was the plaintiff in this circumstance, she there's still time to like change stuff. So I don't think that's a problem. Yeah. That's it. Like I don't think that's a real thing. I don't know how that's gained so much traction. It just like I mean just like take a step back and think about it for a second. That shit doesn't make any sense. All right? So anywho, so that's all I have for today. This has been so much fun. I look forward to seeing your comments, and please like, follow, and subscribe to get an update on when my new episodes come out every Thursday. And I love you lots. Toodaloo.